Greetings. This is the one you've known as Jesus the Christ. The mind's virtual reality is like a wonderland of toys, with anything you can imagine going on, and all the drama and excitement of a roller coaster ride. This is what TV and movies are like too. So much is going on in them that real life seems boring. So people keep turning to their mind, TV, and movies for fun, excitement, and to feel good. There's nothing wrong with entertainment and fun, but that isn't what life is about. Real life isn't happening in your mind or on TV or in the movies. At a certain point, you have to engage in real life. You have to have a life. The more time you spend in virtual reality, whether in your own mind or in someone else's, such as TV or the movies, the more dissatisfied you'll be with real life and the less functional you'll be. You have to do life to become good at it. Getting good at video games won't teach you how to be in life. Only life can. People want to escape into virtual reality because participating in life is more challenging than observing it. In real life, you have to make choices and take actions, and sometimes you're not happy. While you're watching TV or movies or involved in your fantasies, you get to put your problems and negative feelings on hold. For the time being, you don't have to deal with them. When you do this habitually, you're coping with your problems and feelings through escapism, rather than cultivating other, healthier ways to feel better, such as meditating, walking in nature, listening to music, watching the breeze move through the trees, or just sitting quietly. These simple activities, and any number of other real-life activities, will drop you into a place where insights and your inner wisdom, inspiration, creativity, and inner guidance are accessible. This is also where you can gain perspective on your so-called problems and heal your feelings. TV, movies, and your own fantasies do nothing to help you cope with your feelings and life, and they keep you from dropping into a state of love and peace. And when you're engaged in such escapist activities, you probably aren't learning real-life skills. That means that when you return to real life, you're worse off than when you left it. All you've accomplished is reinforcing the egoic state of consciousness, which is the problem to begin with. This is the situation more and more young people find themselves in, not to mention adults. In spending so much time in virtual reality, young people aren't learning how to cope with being in the world, except by escaping it, and no one in the real world, in school or elsewhere, is teaching them an alternative. And worse, by watching so much violence on TV, in movies, and in video games, young people are getting the message that violence is the way to cope with their problems and feelings, and no one is teaching them an alternative to that either. Furthermore, their ego's fantasies and desires are being stoked in a way that will only cause greater disappointment and disillusionment with real life and with their own imperfections. They will never be as beautiful, brilliant, athletic, talented, or charismatic as the heroes and heroines in films, but they will suffer over wanting to be. Subtly and not so subtly, TV and the movies are affecting children in highly negative ways, and they're affecting those of you who are now adults in ways you may not realize. Children and teens are, and you were, deeply conditioned by what you see on TV and the movies, much more than you probably realize. Your society's values were and are being shaped by these stories, many of which are extremely brutal and dark. You think nothing of seeing violence, horror, murder, rape, and torture. On a daily basis, you're exposed to the worst possible experiences a human being can have. It would be foolish to think that seeing this has no impact. Human beings are continually being conditioned by what they see and experience, and you're vicariously experiencing every manner of horror. The only way to cope with this is to become desensitized to violence and horror, and that is what's happened. That's the effect that viewing these things has had on you and is having on your children. What has this to do with love? First of all, if you're spending time in virtual reality, in your own minds or someone else's, you're not spending time in real relationships, which is where you learn to love. And if you're cut off from real life, you're cut off from the love of your true nature and from a rich experience of life that will fulfill you. Many shows are much like a nightmare, with egos suffering and causing suffering. These shows reinforce the ego's viewpoint that life is scary, people are dangerous, and there's a disaster or tragedy around every corner. Doom and gloom seem to be the nature of life. It's easy to conclude that terrible things could and probably will happen to you, and that is neither true nor helpful. However, the more involved you are with the egoic mind, the more negative your reality is likely to become. Like attracts like. These shows keep you tied to the egoic state of consciousness and reinforce the ego's beliefs about life. It's difficult to come away from most movies and TV programs without some fear and emotional trauma. Don't kid yourself. Seeing tragedy, horror, violence, and human beings behaving badly and cruelly affects you. And children who are just forming their ideas about themselves and the world are especially affected by this. The problem is that the more people who are entrenched in the egoic state of consciousness, the harder it is for everyone to break free from it, and the harder it is to be content with real life and to discover the love, goodness, and beauty within humanity and yourself. This is why there's so much negativity on your shows. Those creating them are themselves immersed in the ego's point of view, or they would be producing nature shows or something uplifting or educational. Then, like a virus, this state of consciousness is spread to others. The media is powerful. It's a shaper of beliefs and consciousness, not only a reflector of consciousness. What goes on in most movies and TV shows is definitely not the golden rule. What you're being shown instead is the ego on steroids, not just an ordinary ego, but often a pathological one. Because bad behavior is so common on TV and in the movies, it seems like this is just the way life is. It's what people do. They kill each other and rape and lie and cheat, right? Human beings are animals, right? In many shows, there is little acknowledgement of your divine nature, as if it doesn't exist, or exists only as a weak religious impulse. Such a ready acceptance and dismissal of violence is the first step in creating a violent society. By exposing yourselves to the worst violence and abuses through virtual reality, the door is opened in humanity's consciousness to living out these possibilities. You yourself may not be inclined in this direction, but there are many who are, and these shows contribute to their instability and criminal tendencies. These shows model pathological and criminal behavior, and the rest of you, your egos, are fascinated by such behavior. Violence on TV, in the movies, and in video games is extremely unhealthy for society. It's taking more of a toll on society and on your spiritual growth than you may realize. But this is the stage humanity is at, and many other civilizations on other worlds have had to go through this stage as well. With free will and freedom come some very bad choices, which often aren't learned from until a great deal of damage has been done. Your world will learn as others have, and in that sense it will be okay. But since I'm writing about love, this insidious promoter and reinforcer of hate and violence must be named. The Divine Self knows how to love, and if you give it half a chance, you will experience its love and guidance. But you have to give love a chance by turning off TV, movies, video games, and social media, tuning out the incessant chatter of the voice in your head, and tuning into the subtle realm, where the divine lives and breathes as you. Out of that realm flows love. Thank you for being here. I am with you always.